everydaytaichi. Everybody ready? Let's warm up. Hands at your waist, turn your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stretch your neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Expand your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Waist exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Airplane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Touch toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Be careful. Shift your weight to the left foot. Kick your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kick your butt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heisman, opening up your span, parallel feet, choose the right side, cross and sit on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shift your weight, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cross and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Fanjiron, cross training. Hands extended, fingers widespread going forward. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub, reverse. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Okay, making circles with our foot. Gyarkoimon, stand on your left, circle with your right. Ibe, yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub, reverse. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Stand on your right, circle with your left. Ibe, yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub, reverse. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Kicking up the sand. Stand on your left, root down, kick up the sand with your right. Be, yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Pedal forward. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Stand on your right, kick up the sand with your left. Be, yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Pedal forward. Yat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Okay, new one. Chatjurong. Fingers widespread, right at your waist. Here we go. Yat, ni, sam. Ni, sam. Sam, ni, sam. Se, ni, sam. Ni, sam. Look, ni, sam. Chat, ni, sam. Bat, ni, sam. Go, ni, sam. Sup, ni, sam. Okay, one more. Starting on in the same way, different rhythm, different pattern. Man, fayat, ni, sam, se, look, chat, bat, go, sub. Very good, fast learners. Okay, good. Let's go on to our golden cockerel, okay? Giving us a span, growing up through our spine, sinking our chest, tucking our butt, chin slightly down, glance way ahead, thinking positive thoughts. Golden cockerel stands on its left, on its right, one more set. Kicking out, center, Follow with the eyes, follow with the hand. Last set. Holding our ball. Let's not hold our ball this time, okay? Let's really get down our alignment with our feet. T stance, out into the side, L stance. Turn the hips and waist, flatten down, bow stance. Knee not beyond the toe. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, form your T, out on an L, turn the hips and waist, adjust the back foot, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T stance, out into the side, L, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, form your T, out into the side L, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Getting ready to hold our ball, sit back, sit down, pivot, hold your ball to center yourself, take an L, bottom hand advances to part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, center with a ball, take an L, bottom hand advances, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T, L, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, center with the ball, out with an L. This time, hold your stance to correct and self-check. Drag, put your hands down, put it at your waist. Drag your forward or right foot straight back, and you determine whether you are in a good L stance, bow stance. So how can you do that? You should have a gap between the two legs at about, I want to say 4 or 5 inches. If it's more, that's great. Okay? You want to have that gap. Now take that right foot and put it out again for a bow stance. Okay? Not extremely out, but a bow stance. So there you could have made your correction. Drag it back and say, do I have that 4 inches or at least a block of space? Then when you put your heel back out there, you might want to open up that gap a little bit. Then go forward, and that's a bow stance. Okay? Without using hands now, sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, T stance. Out into the side L, make sure you have that clearance, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot out, twist step, T stance, L stance, bow stance, okay? So get used to that gap that you need to establish for yourselves. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Let's do brush knee. How do you do brush knee? It's a multitask, therefore, set it up correctly, multi, turn hips and waist, hands go for the ride, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. T stance, one higher, one lower. Multi, 3 things happen. Turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. On the multi now, 3 things happen. The top hand comes to the ear, the left hand comes down, and the heel comes out. Here we go. Multi. Then turn hips and waist, hands go for the ride. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist, there's your magic, okay? Practice it that way. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, magic begins only when your hips and waist drive your movement. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist to brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist, and ask yourself if you are still in good Tai Chi posture. Some of you are and some of you are not. Why aren't you all? Make sure that that finger, your pointing finger, is like your spine and that you're straight up. You can adjust yourself right now. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist and keep that spine straight up. Sit back, sit down, pivot. Hold your ball in a T stance. Okay, so good. I think you're all improving, and there's always room for much more improvement. So the hardest thing is that, yes, first you have to lay the groundwork for your feet, and then you have to put your hands together, and then you have to perform using your whole body. So oftentimes, if the groundwork for the feet are not laid really well, then they go haywire, and then it gets more complex with the hands moving. So if we're on a T stance and we come out on if we're on a T stance and we set up correctly, all I'm asking you to do is a multi. The energy is still on the back or right foot. When I turn my hips and waist, this happens. Okay? And then if you watch again, there is some refinement. Here's my set it up correctly. Here's my multi. And here's my magic by turning my hips and waist. But when I fully turn, the right hand should be to the side of my hip, whereas the left hand, the forward hand, should be centering me. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi means three things all together. Top hand comes to the ear, left hand comes down, and the heel comes out. Here we go. Multi. Do you look like me? Turn your hips and waist. Hands go for the ride. Now the hands, one right hand is centering you as if the ball were coming and you're catching it with that hand that's like a mitt or a glove. And the left hand is to the side of your hips or leg, okay? Counterbalancing you. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, set it up correctly, multi, then turn hips and waist to begin your magic. Then you finish it off and you say, is my left hand centering me? And is my fingertips at eye level? Is your right hand, which is a counterbalance hand, sitting to the side of my thigh? Then you take for granted, I've taken for granted that you are in a good bow stance where your right knee is not beyond your toes. So those are the parameters, okay, for good brushing of the knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, set it up correctly, multi, turn hips and waist. There's your magic. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, set it up correctly. Multi, magic of brushing your knee. Sit back, sit down. Pivot, set it up correctly. Okay, your turn to watch. Okay. Set it up correctly. Multi, magic of turning your hips and waist. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, set it up correctly. Multi, turn the hips and waist for your magic. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist, hands go for the ride. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, turn the hips and waist, hands go for the ride. Okay, let's go 2 sets. Set it up correctly. Multi, turn hips and waist, magic. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, magic begins. Sit back, sit down, pivot, set it up correctly. Multi, magic of brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down. T stance, L stance, bow stance. One for good luck. Sit back, sit down, set it up. T stance, T stance, set it up. Multi, magic. Sit back, sit down, twist, set it up correctly. Multi, and magic. Sit back, sit down, twist step. Set it up correctly. All right, let me just keep your stance there, okay? Just keep your stance. I want to look at you. Okay, more or less. In the area of setting up correctly, you're in the area, okay? But let's fix it a little bit more. So if you're conscious and aware of what it is to set it up correctly, more than likely when you multi, it'll make more sense. So when you set it up correctly, remember one hand comes like it's pointing to your shoulder and the other one is up higher. So this one can't come down like this now. It has to come here because you want that sweep. But if it's down here already, there's hardly a sweep. And it's not just a hand motion, but it's being dictated by your hips and waist. So if it's down here, there's not going to be much of a sweep. But if you have it here, and then you can sweep. So you have to set it up correctly. And if it's not set up correctly, the multi will not matter, and the magic will never happen. Look at it that way, okay? So there's...
When Lucille said you set it up, what you're trying to do is get into a very stable pose, upper and lower part of the body balanced with the center of the body. If you're too much this way and too much here, you're not really there. If you're out, this hand is almost center. This hand is out here. This leg is propping you up a little, but the main force is here and here. And then she said, set it in motion. From stable position, you begin unstable position because you want to get to another stable position. The role of the hands, if you bring your hand up too early, you're going to be a little premature in your setting up, or you've gone too far. You need to be, both hands go up, and they're sort of out. And then when you say, okay, I'm going to move, then her magic starts. This goes down, and this comes up. And while you're doing this, you're still at home. It's a very stable position, but you're gathering power because you're going to turn your body. Okay?
Okay, good. So it has a lot to do with timing and synchronizing. and matching what is done on the lower part of your body, your waist down, and then matching it from your waist up. So those are, words that maybe you can understand, but maybe hard to apply. But the more you work with it, you will not only train your body, but you will get some insight as to what we're talking about in that coordination of movements. And things are not done as a piecemeal and done separately in isolation, okay? All right, we're going to move on, but that piece is important, so take it home and practice. Okay, so yeah, it's hard to pull it up, okay? And some people have it, some people kind of are grasping for a form, okay? Well, that's why it's called grasping of the bird's tail. All right, so when we grasp the bird's tail, we know that we're not parting the wild horse's mane, we're not repulsing the monkey and everything else. But we are first warding off by pushing our opponent away, forearming him. And then we're turning our hips and waists, repositioning our hands as if we're pulling down the bird's tail. Okay, and using your hips and waists. And then you're going to contact, turn it to hips and waists. Center of the body is here. Then you're going to push out the energy. Separate the energy, roll back and sit down. Come up and come forward. Okay, now we're going to practice it, okay? All right, on a T stance, holding your ball, left hand on the bottom, left hand ready to go. Out and to the side, ward off. Set that space and stop, pause. Turn the hips and waists. Reposition the hands, sit down, sit back, turn at your hips and waists to look back, contact, turn at the hips and waists to get to the center, push out the energy, separate the hands, roll back and sit down, make yourself small, come up, and then lunge forward. Sit coming back, sit down, sit back, twist step, center with a ball on a T stance, out and to the side, forearm your opponent, pause, turn the hips and waists, reposition the hands, sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waists to look back, contact, turn at the hips and waists, find that center, then push out the energy as separated, roll back and sit down, and come up, and then forward. Sit down, sit back, twist step, form your ball on a T stance, bottom hand advances out in an L, ward off your opponent, pause, turn the hips and waists, reposition the hands, sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waists to look back, contact, turn at the hips and waists, push from the center, separate the energy, roll back, sit down, come up, then forward. Twist step, T stance on a ball, L stance, ward off, pause, turn hips and waists, grasp the bird's tail, contact, push from the center, roll back, sit down, come up, go forward. One more time, sit back, sit down, twist, hold your ball, T, L, ward off, pause. Turn hips and waists, reposition to sit down. Turn at the hips and waists to look back. Contact, turn again, push, separate, roll back, sit down, come up, go forward. Twist, ball and T, L, ward off, pause. Turn hips and waists, grasp the bird's tail, contact, middle push out, separate and roll back, come up, and then forward. The movement we're doing is called grasping of the bird's tail. But first we ward off. Ward off is very unlike parting of the wild horse's mane. So listen to that again. Warding off is very different from parting of the wild horse's mane. When we part the wild horse's mane, we're going up the horse's mane. When we're warding off, we're establishing a forearm movement. So do not give me one of these guys, because sure, you're going to be a prey to your opponent, right? You want to be able to use your energy to push the guy away. Whereas in parting of the wild horse's mane, there's nothing to defend. We're just going up his mane, okay? So don't mix the two, and do not then start to ward off, but then go up the horse's mane. So all we're asking you to do is come out on an L and forearm him, okay? You pause, turn the hips and waist, reposition the hand, and then leave the hands there and the body, your hips and waist, and sitting back, sitting down, turning at the torso or the hips and waist, contacting, turn at the hips and waist, pushing out. So there's very little hand movements other than what's attached to the body, okay? And that's what we're trying to establish within ourselves, that every time we move, to make it flow and to make the energy work for us, we have to use the core, whatever is our central in our body, as well as the hips and waist, and the hands just go for the ride. That's how you get fluid movements and continuity. Okay, so it's an ongoing thing, but the more you practice it, the more what I say will become more meaningful. Is when you grasp the bird's tail, what do you do with the hands, okay? So essentially, we set up our hands, reposition our hands. That's the word I use. The key word is reposition your hands. So I ward off. The sub-movement is to first ward off. Second sub-movement is to grasp the bird's tail. I use my hips and waist, I reposition my hands. So I think at one point I said staggered palms, one hand short, one palm short of the other. It's not palm to palm, but this is a staggered motion that helps you to grasp the bird's tail. So we sit down, sit back, and my hand is always at that interval because it never moves. It's only moving because my core is making, set it up correctly, then it's coming back. But only because my core is advancing or bringing it down. The other side, to help with Rick's understanding of where you put your hands to grasp the bird's tail. First sub-movement is to forearm your opponent. Establish that space. Ask yourself if you're in good Tai Chi posture rather than leaning towards that forearm or reaching for that forearm. Using your hips and waist, repositioning the hand. Palms are palm to palm, but not it's in a staggered position. Then you're going to leave your hand there and you're going to use your core to sit down, sit back. How do I get back there? I turn my hips and waist. Eye contact. I turn my hips and waist. Center. Then I push the energy out. Is that better? Okay. All right. Anything else? Yeah, one thing more.
The image of the hands is block, float out, and turn, so you can be on the outside of your opponent. And this hand, from the original, it switches. It's to grasp the person, and you've got the arm of the person, and then you push with this hand, and you pull them back. So the reason you're here and you switch is because you're wanting to grab with this, and you wanted to push with this, and your body just rotates and pulls it backward.
Okay, good. So the martial art intent is a good imagery as to why you're doing things. And if Tai Chi is based on martial arts, you don't want to float around too much because that's not the intent, okay? All right, cloud hands. Okay, so we all know what a big clock, rounded old-fashioned clock looks like. Numbers at 12, number at 6, 9, and 3. Okay, so that's the image now that we're going to use for floating as if we were clouds. When we're in cloud hands, we are addressing the extremes of the clock. 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And at those points, something happens with our motion. So essentially, this is cloud hands, okay? Just kind of get to where I am, where I say, at the extremes of 3, 9, and 12, something happens, okay? I can go the other way too, okay? That's 3, this is 12, this is 9. So something happens. The hands change, but the feet also change. Sometimes it closes, sometimes it doesn't close, sometimes it needs to get out, and then it turns itself into a golden cockerel, okay? So that's what we're going to try to learn or relearn, okay? So there are certain key words that I use, and this one at 12 o'clock is a stem and a cup. You hold a cup like this, and this is the stem of your hand. That's always at 12 o'clock. At the extremes of 3 and 9, two things usually happen. It's a flipping of the hand and the opening or closing of the feet, depending on what side you are. So two things happen: flip the hands, close the feet. Okay, we're gonna actually drill, but this is hard when you're following me in a mirror effect, okay? But all I want to do now is establish what the keywords mean and how we're using the rounded circular clock to address numbers, okay? Any questions on that so far? Okay. You also understand that to cup something, usually you hold it in a cup position rather than straight out flat or turned it this way. This is the cup. The cup normally is, the cup usually is defined by 2 inches below your navel, which is your center of gravity. And the stem usually stays in this position at the same time, rather than here or rather than here, but usually at the 12 o'clock. And the other numbers pass you by, the extremes, something happens. So yes, the opposites help to make a whole, okay? And you're gonna have trouble because two things, at least on the upper body, is going on, and the third thing is gonna be your feet, okay? So let's just try it, okay? And see how we like it. Of course you'll like it. 3 o'clock. Left hand higher, right hand lower, right hand palms out, top hand palm is facing you. 3 o'clock. Okay, just hands this time. Stem cup, 12 o'clock. 11, 10, 9 o'clock, two things happen. Flip the top hand, bring it down. Bring the other hand up, the bottom hand up. Leaving 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, remember, two things happen. Stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, two things happen. Flip the top hand, bring it up with the bottom hand. And the bottom hand now is the top hand. 2 o'clock, getting ready for my 12 o'clock stem cup. 10, 9, flip the hand, rotate that other hand to the top. Stem cup at 12. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hand. That bottom hand now starts to form a cup so that right at 12 o'clock you have a stem cup. 11, 10, 9 o'clock, flip the hand, other one comes to the top. Move your hips and waist to get to 12 o'clock, you have a stem cup. Move your hips and waist. Only now you're allowed at 3 o'clock to change the position of the hands. Now we're going to establish something. Move our hips and waist. Do not move your hands. Stop at 12. You should have a stem cup. Move on by turning your hips and waist. 9 o'clock. Flip the hands. Move the hips and waist, not your hands. What happens at 12? Establish your cup and your stem. Move your hips and waist to get to 3. Flip the top hand, bring it up with the bottom. Right here now, the right hand starts to form a cup. Turn your hips and waist so that it is now at cup and stem and cup. Turn the hips and waist, 11, 10, 9 o'clock. Flip the top hand, bottom hand comes up. Left hand now starts to form that cup, so there it is at 12, stem and cup. 1, 2, 3, flip the top hand, bring the bottom hand up. Right hand starts to form a cup. Turn the hips and waist, get to 12. You should have a stem and cup. 11, 10, 9 o'clock. Flip the top hand, bottom hand comes up. Start to form the cup on the left hand. Established at 12, stem and cup. Hold your stance, okay? Hold your stance. Okay, so there you got it. The cup is 2 inches below your navel, and the hand is facing the 12 o'clock number. Okay, go. Keep on going. Use your hips and waist. Do you have any? Flip. 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 Okay, pretty good, okay? So we can go a little faster when you're at home. Just to say, it's smooth, I know what to do. So we go slowly to get all the details in, and then we go a little faster to say, we're confident, we know how to do it, okay? But you can't say, well, I guess most of you are saying, it's easy, it's doable, I have a grip on it. But it gets kind of hairy once we start to put feet. Same thing like T stance, L stance, bow stance, part the wild horse's mane. You have to establish a foundation first, okay? A platform, okay? And Ken's motioning to me, it's like egg beaters. They blend, they do the opposite. But essentially, if you take one blade apart, take the 2 blades apart, they're doing the same thing, but in an alternating way, opposite fashion. So another image that he likes to say is that you read the newspaper, you read one line, your eyes drop down to the next line, like this. But all the time, all I do is set up my hand, and all I do is I turn my hips and waist, okay? And I read that top line, I read the top line, okay? I never look on my bottom. My newspaper doesn't read that way. I always look at the top. And you establish the top by looking at the tips of your finger, the eye level, okay? All right, cup stem, okay? So you need to practice that, okay? I'll tell you why and you can figure out why, because now we're gonna put our feet together, okay? So try the best you can. It's not easy, okay? But once you get it, you are floating. You really are on cloud 9, okay? All right. So this is taken out of context, but it's a way to teach you. So the feet are like piano keys. We keep one down, we lift the other finger up, we put it down, and then we lift that established one up to its toe. We grounded, we're posted, we're safe on that left. We can move our insubstantial or weightless foot. We lead with our toe. We come down, we plant down, we're firm. We can lift up this heel onto our toe. We can move it and open safely, alternating the insubstantial, creating the substantial. Okay, so you can do this with me if you're not doing it. So our feet are like piano keys, where our toes are like our fingers. But each time we move, we're not only shifting our weight, but we're grounding ourselves so that we are safe. We are posted down. All right? But we can't keep on going one direction. We have to be able to go in the alternate direction. So now we're at 50-50. We're going to post down on our left foot to alleviate the weight of our right. That's just like commencing form. We open. We come down in degradations or percentages. We don't just plop down. We take note of all those little muscles that we have that help us to refine and make our movements smooth. So yes, we get the point. We also know that one of the principles, main important principles that are essential in Tai Chi is that the upper body is coordinated with the lower body. So here we go. Bring it in a little closer. Set up your hand. Left hand higher, right hand palms away, lower. 3 o'clock or about 2 o'clock. So we don't want to go this way because we'll be out of Tai Chi posture. But because we're still, it's somewhere between 2 and 3, more like 2. 3 would be actually out here. But when we're in motion, we can establish the 3. But right now we're about 2, okay? All right. Stem cup 12, using your hips and waist. Actually, what am I doing? 9 o'clock, open. 12 o'clock, stem cup. Use your hips and waist. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Change hands, open feet. Stem cup. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. Use your hips and waist. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 12 o'clock, stem cup about 50-50, evenly distribution. 3 o'clock, open. Now we're going to go the other way. 9 o'clock, only flip the hands. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, flip the hands, close the feet. Stem cup. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. Okay, but we can't keep on doing that, so we need to get out of cloud hands. 3 o'clock, we flip our hands only. We come to the 12. We turn ourselves into a golden cockerel. And we go on, okay? So that's one of the transitions, the easier transition, okay? So that's just a kind of a overview of cloud hands. So you might want to start to practice that and get the timing done, positioning of the hands, because it's not always easy. To the point where next class, you can just do this kind of stuff. Like, I know what we're supposed to have done for homework, and now I can establish something more with the feet. Okay, in a drill, it's always easy because you have repeated times to practice. But in 10 form, you only have maybe 6 steps at the most, and then it's on to the next movement. Okay? All right. Good Tai Chi posture. Commencing form, shift weight to the right, heel of the left, on the toe, open, toe, arch, heel, hands rotate to the middle of your thighs. Take a deep breath in as we elevate both hands at shoulder level. Drop your shoulders, flex your knees. Center the left hand, right hand rises up higher as you glance open to the ceiling. Bring it to the ear as you turn your head and neck. Meet hands in the middle as you repulse the monkey. Center, glance at the back hand that's higher, open. Bring it to the ear. Turn your head and neck, meet in the center, pull back, push forward. T-stance, parallel and higher, all together. Set it up correctly. Multi, turn the hips and waist, brush knee. 1. Sit back, sit down. Pivot, set it up correctly on a T-stance. Multi, turn the hips and waist, brush knee 2. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, form your ball on a T, out on an L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot, root down, form your ball, out on an L, bottom hand advances to go up the horse's mane. Cloud hands. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. Join it with the back hand where you can see your palm. Sit back, sit down. 3 o'clock. Pivot. 12 o'clock. Stem cup. Pivot with your left foot to come out to the 9 o'clock. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, join the feet. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. Middle cup at 12. 9 o'clock, only flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, close the feet. 9 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. 12 o'clock, stem cup. We're getting out of cloud hands, so at 3 o'clock, only flip the hands. At 12 o'clock, shift your weight to the left and come up, golden cockerel. Come down, shift weight to the right, up, golden cockerel. Shift weight to the left, gather your energy, center your energy, come up, kick, right. Down, shift weight to the right, center the energy, follow the kick with your left hand, left foot. Down, holding your ball, right hand on the bottom on a T-stance. We're going to ward off. Take an L, forearm your opponent, bottom hand advances, give you your space, turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, sit down, sit back, turn at the hips and waist to look back, contact, turn at the hips and waist, center of the body, push that energy out, separate it, roll back and sit down, come up, and then lunge forward. Sit down, sit back, twist step, T-stance with the ball, out on an L, ward off your opponent. Set that space and pause. Turn the hips and waist, reposition the hands, bring down the bird's tail, turn at the hips and waist, contact, turn at the hips and waist, center of the body, push out the energy, separate it, roll back and sit down, come up, lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist, open twist, in twist, embrace the tiger, then close your feet, bring up the tiger, rotate at your wrists, bring him closer to your chest, push him out, separate the energy, drop your shoulders, flex your knees, let gravity take care of you as you now lift the left heel, then your toe off the ground, and close your form.